The dry wind swept through the dusty Utah basin, whispering stories long buried under layers of red rock and secrecy. Chad Olinda stood at the edge of a narrow ravine on Blind Frog Ranch, staring at what appeared to be an unnatural seam in the rock wall. This wasn't just a crack carved by time, it was a door. Or rather, it had been. Now partially collapsed and hidden by sagebrush and sediment, it whispered promises of forgotten wealth and ancient controversy. "I think we found it," Chad muttered to his father, Dwayne, as the camera rolled. Season 5 of Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch had already taken viewers on a roller coaster of radioactive spikes, strange creatures, and buried technology, but nothing had prepared the team, or the audience, for this moment. The it in question, a mine long rumored in local legends, said to have once been owned, and then buried, by a secretive, powerful Mormon family whose wealth and influence shaped the very borders of the region. A map, a journal, and a coinet all began with a coin. Earlier in the season, while excavating near the copper-laced streams on the eastern edge of the property, Chad unearthed what appeared to be a Spanish colonial coin, odd in itself, but not unheard of given the area's long, violent history with conquistadors. What was shocking was the symbol etched crudely into its backside, a beehive surrounded by rays of light. Dwayne recognized the symbol immediately. "That's Deseret," he said, referencing the short-lived Mormon state that predated Utah. This coin wasn't currency, it was a marker. Shortly afterward, Eric Drummond, the team's geologist, returned from a local archive with a journal dated 1872. The leather-bound book, badly worn but legible in places, belonged to a man named Orrin Lee Caldwell, an early Mormon settler and supposed ancestor of the influential Caldwell family, who once owned vast stretches of the Uinta Basin. The journal referenced a mine of purity and peril, sealed away due to temptation and treason. It hinted at a family schism, a mine filled not just with silver or gold, but something of spiritual and worldly power. There were entries that detailed burying the entrance, constructing false canyons, and leaving behind faith-etched markers for only those deemed worthy. The discovery in the ravine with that knowledge, the team began focusing their efforts on terrain anomalies around the eastern ridge. Satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar revealed subtle depressions in the landscape and irregular voids behind the canyon walls. Then came the breakthrough. Chad noticed an unusual set of stacked rocks that didn't match the surrounding geology, lighter in color and more uniform in shape. Behind the rocks, buried under centuries of erosion, was the outline of a tunnel entrance. It had been intentionally collapsed. As the crew began excavation, care was taken to avoid triggering potential traps. Yes, traps. The journal had mentioned righteous deterrence, and after what had happened in the cave during Season 4, when a section caved in near Eric's drilling site, they weren't taking chances. The crew worked cautiously for days, slowly clearing debris until the narrow mouth of a tunnel emerged, black and forbidding. Inside, the air was thin and damp, and the walls bore hand-chiseled patterns, early Mormon scriptural motifs, strange protective runes, and the unmistakable symbol of the all-seeing eye within a sunburst. "Someone didn't want this place found," Chad whispered as they ventured deeper, his flashlight beam dancing across relics embedded in the walls. Secrets beneath the rock. The mine wasn't deep, but what it lacked in depth, it made up for in mystery. At the heart of the mine lay a chamber, roughly 20 feet across and dome-shaped. In the center stood a stone pedestal, atop which sat a sealed copper box, blackened by time. Around the pedestal, iron rods jetted from the ground, forming a circle. "We are looking at some kind of ritual chamber," said Jamie, the team's new historian. These rods, they're placed according to the Deseret Star. This is sacred geometry. And that box, it might not just hold treasure. It took hours to safely remove the copper box. When they finally cracked it open back at the lab, what they found sent shockwaves through the team. Inside were rolled scrolls of thin gold leaf, inscribed with ancient writing. Some appeared biblical, but others were indecipherable. Alongside them was a carved obsidian medallion, etched with the beehive symbol and lined in what later tested positive as electrum, a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver. Jamie gasped when she saw the scrolls. These resemble the rumored second plates of vision, apocryphal texts supposedly hidden away by early Mormon pioneers who diverged from Brigham Young's leadership. Most historians say they never existed, but here they are. A power-hidden and protected word of the discovery didn't stay contained to the ranch. Strangers in black SUVs began parking just outside the property's perimeter. Drones hovered at the edge of the tree line. Even the local sheriff stopped by more than once, citing interest from higher up. Dwayne wasn't impressed. "They've always wanted to get their hands on this land," he told the camera. "Now I know why." The implications of the mine's discovery were staggering. If the documents were authentic, and early tests confirmed the materials dated back over 150 years, it meant a breakaway Mormon sect may have hidden knowledge, treasure, or relics they believed too dangerous or powerful to remain public. And they did it right under everyone's noses. The mine was likely sealed by the Caldwell family, now an almost mythical name in Utah's foundational history. While few public records about them remain, local oral histories speak of a family who were spiritual zealots, believed to have amassed and protected a trove of religious relics they considered too divine to be governed by Salt Lake City or Washington. The warning the final pages of the 1872 journal offered a chilling prophecy. "Should this chamber be unsealed by the unwashed, the land shall stir, and eyes shall return from the mountain to reclaim what is ours." That same night, seismic sensors on the ranch picked up a shallow tremor, just 1.3 on the Richter scale, but enough to rattle nerves. The next morning, the copper box, now kept in a secured container, was found slightly ajar, even though no one had accessed it. Chad, normally level-headed and pragmatic, couldn't hide his unease. "I don't believe in curses," he said, "but I do believe in consequences. We've touched something bigger than us, something old, something protected." Final thoughts: the discovery of the secret mine has changed everything at Blind Frog Ranch. No longer is this just a treasure hunt. It's a clash of histories, faiths, and perhaps even paradigms. Whether the mine holds more physical treasure or just spiritual secrets, it's clear someone wanted it hidden for a reason. For Chad and Dwayne Ollinger, the deeper they dig, the more they realize they're not just excavating earth. They're excavating a legacy. One that could reshape not only Utah's history, but the very narrative of belief and power in the American West. As Season 5 draws to a close, fans are left with more questions than answers. Was the mine sealed out of fear, reverence, or control? Were the Caldwell family really? And most urgently, what else lies hidden beneath Blind Frog Ranch? Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. The mine may have been hidden by men, but the secrets it holds were protected by something far greater. For months, Chad and the team had been tracking strange anomalies on the ranch. Electromagnetic spikes, unexplained heat signatures beneath the rock, and even unsettling whispers recorded on audio gear deep within the caverns. But none of it made sense until a local rancher passed along a yellowed map, folded tightly and wrapped in oilskin, that he claimed had belonged to his great-great-grandfather, a tracker who once worked for the Caldwell family. The map showed a route cutting through the eastern bluff, where nothing but brush and boulders stood today, and marked with a single Latin phrase, Non omnis moria. Not all of me shall die. This isn't just a trail, Chad said to Dwayne, spreading the brittle paper across the hood of their ATV. It's a legacy. The Caldwells were once a powerful Mormon family, more secretive than most, with rumored ties to the original Council of 50. Their sudden disappearance from Utah's history books had always raised eyebrows. But no one knew why. Now it seemed, the Allingers had stumbled onto the answer. The Caldwells didn't vanish. They buried themselves, with everything they were sworn to protect. Following the signs with the old map in hand, the team followed a narrow wash that led to a canyon marked with lichen-covered cans, artificial piles of stone that matched the map's hand-drawn markers. Eric Drummond, the team's geologist, confirmed the unusual nature of the site. These stones weren't just placed here randomly, he explained. They geomagnetically aligned, possibly to disrupt compass readings. Whoever built this didn't want to be found by men or machines. They eventually reached a cliff face with a hairline crack just wide enough to let in a breeze. That's when Chad noticed it. Pressed into the stone, half buried by sand and erosion, was a metallic emblem, a beehive surrounded by 13 stars, a symbol of the original Mormon state of Deseret, long before Utah achieved statehood. And below it, carved so faintly it was almost invisible, the word sanctum. Sanctuary. With renewed determination, the team began digging. Into the darkness it took days of excavation. Every foot forward brought new dangers, loose rock, stale air, and even a sudden collapse that nearly pinned Charlie, the new explosives expert. But on the 6th day, they broke through into a hidden chamber.